Welcome everyone to another NCC Hospitality Alumni Career Panel. This is the second one that we have conducted, and we have current students in the program, as well as some high school programs that we're hoping may send some students to NCC. And what the goal of what we hope to do in the next hour to an hour and 15 minutes is to learn a lot more about you and your accomplishments in the hospitality industry since you have graduated from Northampton Community College. So we're going to start by, I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself and provide your name, your current position, and your career and educational path. And so I'm going to just kind of go by the list. Montana Joe, if you want to go first, let's learn about Montana Joe.
Of course. So my name is Montana Joe Siwis. I am a restaurant manager at Universal Orlando Resorts, and I have my master's degree in hospitality management. And I've had it at UCF, and I also went there for my bachelor's degree in event management. So I've kind of been around. I've worked at all of the theme parks in Orlando, Florida. So I worked at SeaWorld. I did operations, guest operations there, guest services. And then I also did the Walt Disney World Company as well. And I did housekeeping there. And then I transferred over to Universal, and I started as a balloon handler for Thanksgiving. And then I moved all the way up to management. I started in the restaurant industry because I missed it very, very much at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and I was a food runner there. And then I was able to go to the New York side of Universal at Finnegan's Bar and Grill. I was the cash coordinator there. And then I moved up from there to City Walk at the Cowfish Burger Sushi Bar.
Great. So, well, thank you for taking time out of your schedule today to participate with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Ketsi, you're going to next introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ketsi Dueño, and I am currently the HR recruiting coordinator at Camelback Resort. I graduated from NCC in 2017 with my associate's degree, and I started at Camelback with doing my internship with the sales department. So I kind of stayed there. I started doing birthday parties, and then kind of moved to events and weddings. And then I did sales coordinating for corporate groups as well as social groups. And then this year in June, I kind of transitioned to the HR role. Yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you. Brianna Garcia, tell us about your career path with Historic Hotel Bethlehem.
Yeah, so my name is Brianna Garcia. I started working at Hotel Bethlehem when I was 19. And I started as part-time front desk, and I really did not anticipate me working here as long as I have, but I just kind of went through the whole operations side, front desk, I did night audit, and then I was promoted to accounting clerk, and then worked my way up to staff accountant, and then HR admin, and now I am the director of accounting and staff services, so I oversee human resources and accounting.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. Michael George, tell us about your career path in the hospitality industry.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay? I don't think my video is showing up. So yeah, it's been a great career so far. Kind of started out with my first job was actually at the Homewood Suites, which was in Bethlehem. I started out as a houseman's van driver. I wouldn't really want to start my career any other way. You really gather an appreciation for, you know, the back of the house and everything that they do. So kind of did that for maybe about 6-7 months. And then at that point, a front desk position opened there at that hotel. So as I was still going to Northampton, I believe, I think I graduated in 2016. It was quite a bit of time ago, but I was still working there at the time. And then I kind of wanted to explore different brands. So I ended up actually at the Hyatt Place in Bethlehem for a little bit. So it's probably there for maybe a little less than a year. And then at that point, I decided I actually applied for a restaurant manager position at the Renaissance in Allentown, which in all reality didn't really make sense because I didn't ever work at a restaurant before, but that actually led to an opening at their front desk. So I worked at the front desk there for probably about a year or so, and then was eventually promoted to front desk supervisor, assistant front office manager, and then at that point, up until March 2020, I was at the Renaissance Allentown Hotel, which I loved it there. I was there for about 5 years or so. And then unfortunately they did end up furloughing the employees. They did shut down operations until I believe April of this year. So I did end up getting another job, and I was an assistant GM at a Hilton Garden Inn, which that was a good job as well. Got some HR experience there. But the great part of the overall journey, especially where I'm at now, so Denise Mayatico actually was she actually still teaches Intro to Hospitality. She's actually my boss now. So just the fact that now I'm actually at the Center 100 Hotel, if you guys don't know. We're currently renovating that property. It used to be a Holiday Inn, the Conference Center on Route 100, which in the next few months or so, we hope to be finishing up that renovation. It will actually be a Delta by Marriott. So exciting things to come with that. So it's kind of pretty much my background and where I've been. I do prefer the Marriott full service properties for sure.
Okay, thank you very much, Cole. Anna, tell us about life in Philadelphia.
Hi, it's great. So currently I am a stay-at-home mom, and I started my own business making candles during COVID. But before that, I was a conference service manager at the Logan Hotel. That used to be a Four Seasons. And how I got that job was when I was in college, actually transferred to Temple. So I graduated Northampton in 2014, took a year off in between going to transfer to Temple, and then actually took me like 2.5 more years to finish my bachelor's. And I did my internship and had a job at the Logan at the front desk, and then was promoted to a conference service manager about a year and a half after starting there. And yeah, I loved that job. I wish I could go back, but right now I have a 2-month-old at home, so I'm not working and not really looking to work at the moment until she's a little bit older. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Kristen Sandoval, tell us about Myrtle Beach. And tell us about both your career path and your educational path.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, I want to apologize. Major construction project going on right now, renovation, a $4 million project. So it's really noisy. Got jackhammers above. But I started my career journey when I was 16. That was my first experience in the hotel world. Shortly thereafter, committed to Northampton Community College, where I attained my associate's degree in 2013, I believe it was. And I don't know if my record still holds true. David will have to tell me. At one point, I was one of the only students who had gone to the original Monroe campus, the main campus, and the Fowler building, along with attending online. So I definitely did a lot of driving during my time at Northampton, but I absolutely loved it. After graduating Northampton, I got the opportunity to attend Johnson & Wales University in Charlotte, North Carolina to obtain my bachelor's degree. I graduated there in 2014 and ended up moving to Myrtle Beach with my family. I had worked at a couple other hotels along the way. There was a Comfort Inn, there was a DoubleTree by Hilton, there was an oceanfront individually owned property. But in 2016, I got my start with Wyndham, which has changed names several times. We became Wyndham Destinations. Now we are Travel and Leisure Co. And in 2016, I jumped on board as the guest services supervisor. About 2 years later, I had an opportunity to relocate to Sevierville, which is just outside Gatlinburg, Tennessee, where I became the guest services manager for one of our resort properties. About a year and a half later, had the most amazing opportunity to help open one of our brand new properties, the Margaritaville Vacation Club, which was in downtown Nashville. And then about 8 months ago, finally got the AOK to relocate back to Myrtle Beach, where I am now the general manager of an oceanfront property. And as I mentioned, we're in the start of our $4 million renovation. So there's definitely been a lot of craziness going on, but it's been the best journey ever. And I'm so glad that I'm here with you guys.
Thank you. So the next question I'm going to ask some of you about is, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face in your positions as you've transitioned through your career path? So does anybody want to raise their hand, go first to talk about what you have felt like is that biggest challenge? Okay, Kristen, go for it.
Well, just to start it off, obviously in a general manager role, you're gonna come across a lot of challenging situations, especially being new in the role. But one thing just in general along my career path that I like to talk about is kind of ageism in a way. That's definitely one of my personal struggles that I've had to encounter. I'm definitely the youngest GM in the company history. So, coming into a new role where there's a lot of individuals with a ton of experience, 20, 30 plus years, you kind of get looked at in a sense, and you have to really step up and show that you're capable and that you're motivated, and just don't let it get to you. You know what you're good at, and that's really all that matters.
So what would you say has been the skill that you've used, or how have you sold people on the fact that even though you're young, you can do this job?
I think that the biggest thing for me was it kind of brings me back to college, because in college, one of my things that I really enjoyed doing was getting involved, whether it be student senate or presidential ambassadors at Northampton. And I was involved in a lot of bits and pieces of a lot of organizations and things. And since coming on board with Wyndham, we also have like corporate programs. We have something that's called the SME network, which is subject matter experts. So it really helped me kind of get myself out there. I've been invited to the corporate office on numerous occasions to speak and help develop new programs and training modules. So putting myself out there, I would say, has really helped the most.
Great, thank you. Anyone else on the panel want to talk about the biggest challenge you have faced? Anna, go for it.
So I would say I had a few. When I was in my final semester of college, working at the front desk, I was also pregnant. So unexpected, but yeah, so that was a challenge, trying to deal with that. And I actually ended up becoming employee of the quarter that quarter too. So you just kind of have to take everything and just, it is what it is, and go with it. And then once I was promoted so I came back from maternity leave, applied for a front desk supervisor position, didn't get it. Actually was going to leave my job and go to another hotel in the city. And the GM came to me and she said, "We don't want to lose you. what can we do? And I said, I've always wanted to go into sales. I want to be on the sales team. I have the education for it. I'm ready. Throw it at me, give me a position. And they actually made a position for me. So I was a junior conference service manager, and it was kind of a hybrid between sales and conference services because I didn't do as much catering as I did room blocks. So I worked with the social and entertainment clients. So I would go to the morning sales meetings and have to propose, like, if they need more rooms, this is our occupancy, this is their the rate, the ADR that's that day, things like that. But the biggest challenge of that was I was working at the front desk before, side by side with people. And then I went into this conference services manager position and had to work kind of, have the people I was working with before under me, but work along with them. And that was so challenging because they were my friends. And there's a very fine line between, having to be a manager and also be friends with people and get them to do what they need to do and what you need them to do. So that was challenging, telling my old boss that this client needed this and his team had to do it at this time, so yeah.
Well, I mean, that's great that you were able to talk to them and tell them what you wanted to do and that they listened and they created that position for you. So that's outstanding because a lot of times that doesn't happen.
No, I'm very lucky. And I think it has a lot to do with my GM. She was a single mother of 4. And maybe she saw something in me similar to her. And that I think it's just, not being afraid to ask for what you want because it could happen.
So would you say that the Logan was a good fit for you?
Absolutely. I would love to go back there. I'm hoping they would take me back there when I'm looking for jobs again. I'm sure it just depends on what's available at the time, because I would hate to, go back to something that wasn't my job before, but I understand that things are different now and I might have to. And especially being home with children, it does unfortunately pause your career. So I might have, I'm going to have to start where I was or maybe even lower than where I was, like as a sales associate or something, or at sales admin. But I liked that place a lot. It was artsy. The culture was cool. It was like Philadelphia's hotel, but it was a 4-star hotel. So they really had like that luxury brand. And I think I just fit in well.
Excellent. And the reason I asked you that is I always try to say once during the semester, you've got to find that property, that restaurant, that job, that position that's the right fit for you. And that's one of the huge keys. And I even look at, packing up the bags and moving from San Diego to Allentown. It's turned out that Northampton is the right fit for me. And so you just have to find that and you have to make those changes. Anybody else want to talk about biggest challenge you have faced in your position? Brianna, go for it.
Yeah, so I just want to kind of piggyback on what Kristen and Anna have both kind of said. I think I'm the youngest manager that we have on our team. And I'm also the only one with a 2-year-old daughter at home. So my work-life balance has to be, very planned and orchestrated. And my position is a brand new position within the hotel. Accounting and HR has always been a separate entity here. And so I've had to not only prove myself as the youngest manager or director, and with a daughter at home, I have to now come up with a whole essentially job description for myself. And I came into this role right when everything was kind of opening up from COVID. So I had to figure out how to do mass hiring and our new business model because corporate still is not back. So I just think overall there was a lot of pressure because of my age that can she handle this? And it's just this constant having to prove that, yes, you can handle it. You have to just dive into it and give it all you got. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, just the idea that this is one of the toughest times that this industry has ever faced, and you're remodeling everything.
So I want to ask you this question because I've always just been so proud of what you've accomplished at Hotel B. What do you think they saw in you and for you to progress all the way up to the executive team?
I
And-
never said no to anything. If they had a task for me, I was all in, and I just had this idea in my head that I'm not going to let my age, or, I don't have a bachelor's degree, and I'm the only one that does not have a bachelor's degree. So I couldn't let any of those roadblocks stop me. And anything that they had for me, any task, I just wanted to prove that I could do it. And I think that's what's helped. I've never said no. And maybe that's not the best thing, but it's worked in my favor. So I'll just keep saying yes.
And so take 30 seconds and give a plug for the historic Hotel Bethlehem. Why is it a wonderful place to work?
It is a wonderful place to work because I truly feel that the staff is like family. And I worked very closely with a lot of our line level, and especially in COVID, I've worn many hats. I've worked in events, and I just see the team work, and there's nothing better than that. And no one is saying that's not my job. Everyone is just, what do you need? Let's do it. Doesn't matter if you apply for a restaurant server position, you're probably going to be doing a lot more than that. And if you have skills in other areas, we try to utilize that. So the hotel itself really finds what you're good at and tries to make a career path for you.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And thank you, because you brought up skills, and that's exactly where I wanted to go next, because one of the questions that had been presented to the panelists was what skills are essential for success in the hospitality industry, both hard and soft skills. And Ketsi, I'm gonna talk just a little bit longer, but have you go first because you're in HR and want to get your viewpoint to share with the students as to, what would be those top hard and soft skills that you're looking for when you're recruiting?
Definitely. So I definitely think that being a self-motivator is something that's really important in this industry, as well as being organized. I feel like whether it was here in HR or before I was with sales, being organized was so important. Like there was no way that I could do everything that I needed to do in a day without being organized, as well as prioritizing all of the tasks that you would have to do on a day. Being patient is like really important in the hospitality industry. We know that the guest is not always the easiest to work with, and being an HR, employees are also a little hard to work with, but being patient in both, if you're working with the guests or if you're in the back of the house, I think it's one of the skills that, everyone has to have in this industry. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ketsi. Montana Joe, what about you? So we have a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but we have student interest from our current students of landing in Orlando and going to work, probably at a theme park. What are the skills that are needed in 2021 and 2022 to be successful at one of the theme parks in Orlando?
So definitely networking, knowing people, meeting them, and just making that connection, and also keep reaching out to them and keep connecting with them. That's something that's huge. I've met people once I got to Orlando that I'm still in contact with. And I believe that has helped me get to where I am. And it's also making any opportunity that you can get, that you do it. You make time to be able to volunteer and just be out there. That's definitely something that's important. always saying yes to every job opportunity and just making yourself known as normally I'm the girl that always smiles because I'm always smiling, I'm always having a good time, and I'm just always motivating everybody. So it's that motivation aspect. It's talking to the executives and letting them know where you want to go and where you want to be. And it's just expressing your interest, even with jobs and like volunteer opportunities within the jobs and meeting them off like your off time. You definitely want to do that too. Um, I also think that you have to put in the work. I definitely have put in so much work, have done all the overtime, and have always made those connections. And just by letting people know that this is where I want to go and this is not where I want to end my journey, but this is where I'm beginning, they definitely know, like, watch out for her.
We even knew that when you were at NCC, we knew to watch out for MJ. So great response. Mike, your turn. What are the most important soft skills that you would give you as advice to the students?
So I would definitely go being patient, as was already said. I don't think if I wasn't as patient as I was, I don't think I would be where I'm at today. I know, especially, getting right out of college, I was under the impression that, now that I have a degree that I could, essentially just, start at the management position. But throughout my career, I've just been patient, kind of like what Montana Joe said. You kind of just subtly let yourself or let your managers know, like, hey, if there's anything else I can do, and kind of just let them know what your path is and what you really want to do. If you're just patient, I know sometimes it'll take a little bit more time than you really want it to. But I mean, an example at the Renaissance, I was a front desk agent for maybe a year and a half, and I was kind of starting to get anxious to get to the next step. And then what do you know, like a month after that, I was still there grinding, and they opened up a supervisor position for me, which I took. And then eventually I started feeling the same way, maybe like 6-7 months after that. And then what do you know, there's another, position for me. So yeah, definitely being patient. One thing that Northampton really taught me also is stay current with the trends in the industry as well. Especially working with Marriott now. They have their platform for, as far as like digital check-in and using digital keys as your actual like key to get you into the room. Staying current with that technology and just seeing what your peers are doing and everything like that is very important.
Great. Okay, so you've helped me to transition to the next question, which is, how did school prepare you for your career? And for some of you, it's not just your time at NCC, but it's your time at Temple or Johnson & Wales. But how has your education prepared you for your career? And
Can I take that one?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So as far as like the good thing about the program, for me was you really got a taste of everything the industry has to offer. Just an example, especially when we were over at the Hampton Winds doing serving and stuff like that. And like you said earlier, David, it really comes down to, what's a good fit for you. You're probably going to go through a couple properties and realize like, oh, you know what, this probably isn't what I want to do. And then you kind of find that fit. So even that coexists with school, especially because, as I enjoyed my time at the Hampton Winds, I necessarily was not a server. And I knew right away, like, hey, I don't mind doing this, but at the same time, this isn't really something that I enjoy. And then that kind of was the same thing with the sales and marketing aspect as well, as I didn't mind to do it, but I knew that as soon as I got into the industry, I was more of an operations person. And I really like the way a hotel runs smoothly. I like the room side of it. And that's kind of how I found my fit where I'm at today.
Great, thank you. That's good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Another panelist, how has your career assisted you with your positions?
David, I can answer. So kind of piggybacking on that, I think one of the major things that no surprises for me, it really give you a taste of everything. For example, I'm in the timeshare industry. Now, I don't really do a whole lot with banquets and serving. But again, this is a starting point for me, and this isn't where I want to end up. So at least I kind of have a taste of what some of those other things that I might come across in my career might do. And it also ensured, I think one of the biggest things I've seen, and I think that's still kind of relevant, is a lot of students go to college and they're still not really sure of what they want to do. I know for sure when I was at Johnson & Wales, I was in class with a lot of freshman students and they hadn't worked in hotels before. And for me, it ensured that, I was doing the right thing. And this is something that I could see myself doing for, a career in lifelong. And some people, they going through programs like that, they're like, maybe this isn't for me, but I think it is a good tool to help you in determining where you want to go and where you want to be.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any other comments on how school has helped you in your career path?
So for me, because I do have my master's degree, I think when everybody hears that, they're always like, wow, she has her master's degree. So it's just amazing by telling somebody that you have some type of degree, they're so amazed, because a lot of the people in our industry, they only get to their job with networking, but then they have some more of the younger folks that have their degrees and they're all just like, wow, okay, that's a willingness to learn. And for me, it's not just about stopping at a master's degree. It's thinking about, okay, let me get more certificates. Let me go on for my education and let me see where I can go and how far I can go.
Excellent. Thank you. So I'm going to move to a different question, and it is, what do you like most about your job? But then I'm also going to add to that, what is your biggest challenge that you have been facing in 2021? Does someone want to volunteer and go first, or do I need to call on somebody?
I can take that.
Joe, Montana's gonna go. Montana Joe, MJ.
So my biggest struggle right now is being so short-staffed. So we are so incredibly short in our back of house. No one wants to work right now, and that's the struggle. Or people are leaving because the holidays are coming and they don't want to work. So it's always jumping in, and you're just always there. And for your staff to see a manager jumping in and being on expo or cooking on the line or serving tables, they're just like, wow, okay, she's willing to help. She'll put in the work. So I think they find that as, okay, not just a manager that sits in the office and hides. And you don't want to be known as that. You want to be the person that's always on the floor and helping out. Something that I really truly love about my job is watching my team members smile and making those connections with them, because it's all about how you're spending a good chunk of your life at work. So it's making those connections and having those relationships with your staff members and your coworkers. And something else that I truly love is whenever they're like, we need a manager. So normally I'm always the first one to jump on it because I always like solving all the issues. And a guest is screaming at me because their food is taking 45 minutes or their food is cold or something's going wrong. It's how can I fix it? How can I resolve the issue? And what would I what would I want to be done and how would I be happy? And it's always the end result of thanking them, apologizing, and watching them go from a not so great experience to a fabulous experience, and like they're leaving with a smile on.
Leaving with a smile on, making sure our employees are happy. That's what it's all about. It's about giving great service, whether it's to the guest or it's to our internal customer. Mike, did you want to speak on this topic?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, it's quite obvious, at least at this time. Yeah, we are definitely experiencing, staffing shortages. But like Montana Joe said, when you are front and center with your team, especially in my role, since I'm overseeing front office and housekeeping, especially on busy nights when you're there grinding with your team. And if you're busy in housekeeping or something, and you're there and they see you actually cleaning a room and really working hard with them, they really appreciate that. And as far as anyone that I would encourage people to come to the hospitality industry. It's such a rewarding career. But I just think one thing that really resonated with me, it was probably in 2018 or so. We took with the hospitality company I was with, we took a seminar on servant leadership, which really just the main principles of that is to lead, you serve to lead. And that was really, that touched base with me. At the time I was a supervisor, so that's a really difficult position because if a guest asks for a manager, you're like, hey, my name's Mike, I'm the front office supervisor. They immediately just want to bypass you and ask for the manager. So that was kind of a period of time where I really got into kind of switching up my leadership style. And, that really helped me out as far as I pride myself on, I don't have too much turnover because I'm always checking on my employees. We're always having a good time. And, we always just have the common goal in place to consistently deliver good guest service and, having a good time while we're doing that.
Having a good time. That's in this day and age, that's very important. And when I look at Denise Miatico's book page, I certainly see that you guys are having a good time. So you've had fun during the remodel of the property. Brianna, how about you? What do you like the most about your job? And then what's maybe your biggest challenge?
I think what I like most about my job right now is that I don't have, because this was a new role, there's no set job description. There's no clear expectations. You can kind of make it what you want as long as what needs to get done is getting done. And we're kind of in that phase right now of making a lot of new roles just because the demand is changing and where our focus needs to be is not strictly operations anymore. And since our general manager retired, we have kind of done a lot of merging within the organization and a lot of structural changes. I think one of the biggest challenges right now is, of course, the hiring, but also the supply constraints. There's a lot of things we just can't get in that we used to. And we have a lot of direct competition, not necessarily hotels. There's a lot of local Airbnbs now that people are staying at, and the customer base is changing and the needs are changing. So I think it's a matter of keeping up with all of it and just adapting with the times. And we're changing our whole model basically. And we have menu changes and we're trying to do whatever we can to get employees to work for us and to get our guests back. But our main source of clientele was corporate, and that just has not come back yet. So we have an empty conference center sitting up the street, and it's been used once in the last 2 years. So it's just trying to find new ways to work with the times and things like that. So
And the one time it was used, I was at that event. So
Were you really?
it really was. Okay. It's a beautiful space.
It is beautiful. People just don't need the
And-
corporate space now.
And Ryan was at that event too. So yeah, because you did something in partnership with Discover Lehigh Valley. So
Yep.
yeah. So anyone else on the panel? What you like best about your job or the biggest challenge?
I can go ahead. So our biggest challenge right now is like everyone else that we are extremely short-staffed and it's just really hard to get anyone to apply. And then when they do apply, it's just very hard to get them to answer the phone or answer the emails and complete all the 4 to 5 steps that we have in our pre-employment process. But we're getting there. And then what I like most about my job is that even though my tasks are basically the same for every day, it's never really the same every day. Like there's always something different that I'm doing or something new that I'm learning. And I like that.
And Ketsy, I would have to agree with you. Oh my God, how many years ago? I don't know, 30 years ago when I got into the hospitality industry, I think one of the keys as to why I got into it was because every day was different. And that's one of the most exciting things about the industry. So let's talk about current trends. Are there current trends happening in the hospitality industry right now that you would like to talk about with the students?
I can go.
Go for it, Anna.
So obviously I'm not working right now, but I'm still trying to keep up with everything. And I have friends who are still working at the hotel. And I would say one thing is smaller meetings because more people are going to be on Zoom, obviously. And then the digital keys are becoming huge, as I think Mike said. And then another thing that I've noticed, and I'm not sure that this is going to be like said that it's a trend, but are you guys still teaching that the customer is always right? Because I don't think that is the case anymore. And I think a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels, I know for a fact, like the sales team, they're just learning to say no more and really stand their ground. And I'm sorry that my child is cooing in the background if you can hear her. She's smiling, she's not crying. But yeah, just the customer is not always right. And I think that's going to be a huge trend that came out because of COVID and now is going to continue forward this next year.
Great, thank you. Yes, we just spent some time talking about how to deal, as Rebecca said, how to re-educate the guests, but also how to try to deal with those difficult and angry customers. So, who else wants to talk about a current trend? Kristen.
So this isn't something that timeshare has quite caught on board with yet, and stuff in our world is a little bit more challenging because we do have owners. It's a lot harder to get them to pay for certain things. For instance, electric vehicle charging stations. I had a meeting yesterday. I got denied. What a bummer. But something that I noticed even, and I think I want to say it's Hilton is kind of ahead of the game on this one, is I guess you could say transparency or the option of guarantees. So I know, for instance, in my time traveling, you can book a unit, but they always tell we can't promise you'll have a connecting room. We'll try our best. And those new commercials that I've seen is they can, specifically request those certain things that they need for their family. And I think that's really going to help long term because, as families grow, if I have, children one day, I'm going to want those connecting rooms. And if someone can't promise that to me, I'm probably not going to stay there. So I think that they're kind of ahead of the times on that sort of a thing.
Great. Being transparent, that is very important. Anyone else?
I would like to go for this one. What we're seeing is just the whole contactless era. And I think COVID obviously just ignited all this. So we're in the proposal process right now of attempting to have our TVs in all of the guest rooms. You can check out through your TV. You can download the apps to do Zooms from your guest rooms. And we have desks now, and we're more gearing towards people are not doing the meetings all together. They're booking here to be in the area, but they're doing their meetings from their guest rooms. So it's just adapting to that change and that shift and giving the guests what they need. And that's what we're seeing on our end.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all about adaptability and as you put your hand up. What did you want to say?
So definitely vegan options. That's like something that has blown up, especially this year, because we've been seeing a lot of reducing plastic and just the healthier options. And with the kitchens, they want more open kitchens. Guests want to see what the cooks are doing and how they're cooking, so then they can make it at home. And that's something that's huge. At Cowfish, we have open kitchen where everybody can see in. So they can see how we're rolling the sushi, how we're making the burgers, how we're doing burgushis, because they want to replicate that. And something else that's extremely important is the history behind the food. People want it to be local, and they want that, well, how come we're going here instead of the big distributions? And so there's always that story, that experience. So I think that's something that's huge. People don't want to bring things home. They want a story or an experience with it.
Vegan trend is huge. So, and the whole kitchen concepts is also changing significantly. Does anyone on the Zoom have a question they would like to ask the panelists? Do you have something you'd like to type in? Is there a topic you want to hear a little bit more about? Rylan, I see your hand.
Yeah, I have a question for Montanazzo. How has your transition between different theme park places like SeaWorld and Universal, Disney, how has those experiences, helped you, and what really helped you transition from one place to the other, and what things did you bring along that you took from like the other places, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I think just my willingness to learn and to adapt and to just keep going and being motivated all the time has really helped me. I started out with Disney. I love Disney. I would hopefully one day like to end back up at Disney. SeaWorld was that fun place where I wanted to work and say, hey, I worked at all 3 theme parks of like Orlando. And I love that because it was always, you were helping with the animals and everything. And it was just a good cause. And I love the story behind SeaWorld. Universal is that adventure place, that place where grown-ups go to play. So I like that as well. It's just all about being able to just keep moving forward and always being motivated and just staying your course and never saying no and experiencing everything that you can, especially down in Orlando where there's so much to do, so many opportunities. It's being able to just do everything and do it with 110%.
Great question. Thank you. So from James Helton, our international student, what are the 3 most important character? And then the question went away. What are the 3 most important characteristics or skills employers are looking for nowadays? Anyone want to take a stab at that? Ketsy, you're in HR. I'm going to throw it to you
I can
first.
take it.
And then we'll go to Mike. Three most important characteristics or skills.
So characteristics and skills. When I am doing a screen for any type of the roles, I hire for a few different departments on property. I look for, I looked at their resume, obviously, to make sure that the role that they're applying goes with the roles that they have had in the past. But even if they don't have that, in their resume, we just have a conversation with them and we ask questions about their availability, things like that. But we just had conversations to see if that person would kind of match that role. Like, let's say they can apply to a server role, but then when we talk to them, we think, you know what, you're very personable, and you're very patient. I think you would be great in guest services. What do you think about that? And we kind of like try to determine that. I wouldn't say that we have like specific like characteristics that we are looking for, but definitely we look for someone that's going to be responsible, and someone that depending on the role, someone that can multitask. In hospitality, that's so important, as well as keeping being organized and kind of being able to prioritize all of the tasks that you have to do for the day or for the specific shift.
Thank you. I think those were all great things. Mike, you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, so as far as what I'm looking for, I used to, as far as you know, looking at resumes, I kind of look for anything, or if anybody's kind of been in any customer service related business. My main thing, especially like my interviewing processes, it's basically just a conversation. I think the old way of interviewing, at least for me, as far as just asking very bland questions, hasn't really necessarily provided me with the best employees. I think as far as characteristics, you just look for the are they teachable? Is that somebody, usually in my interview process, I kind of lay down the foundation as far as what kind of manager I am. I just let them know, you know, this is my expectations. And I just let them know as far as if you could kind of tell during the interview process if they're going to work out for you or not. And like I said, just to reiterate, I don't necessarily look for if you've been in the hospitality industry before, because I know, you know, just getting my foot in the door was kind of a difficult thing when I first started, just because everybody was looking for, you know, the hospitality experience. So yeah, definitely teachability. I look for somebody that shows enthusiasm, is excited to potentially jump into the industry. And it also, I just base it off of, you know, if the person's also confident or not. You can really tell as far as how well the interview goes, I think within the first 3 to 5 minutes or so. But also you have to understand, being flexible in this industry is key as well. So if somebody tells you they can only work 7 to 3s, or like can only work like a mid shift or something like that, that's usually not something that's going to work out. At least for me, I like to have people that are flexible with their scheduling.
Great, thank you. And Rebecca's comment was great. View for personality and teach skills. And I think that's very important in this day and age. We have a question from DC that is, what's the one question that makes or breaks the candidate during the interview? Those of you that do a lot of hiring, is there a question that young people stumble on, that candidates have challenges with?
So I don't have a specific question, David, but this kind of goes back to what was just said. I'm more of a conversationalist. So I don't use the old style of interviewing where it's, tell me a time when this happened or name these things. I'm looking for somebody who can have a conversation with me as a person, because that's what the expectation is with them going out and interacting with their coworkers and the other guests. So the only thing that I can think of that I've ever not felt super confident about someone is I don't like short answers. So if I ask you, tell me your past experience, and they say McDonald's, well, that doesn't, I like to feed more into and give me deeper explanation, and let's talk back and forth. Don't be scared and nervous, and because we need people who are friendly and outgoing, and that's the thing that I look for.
Okay, so give complete answers. Be outgoing. Have confidence in the interview. Anyone else? Is there a suggestion? And we'll just kind of say, what suggestions would you give on the interview process that could be helpful to these young adults?
Just really quick, David, I don't know what it is nowadays, but showing up dressed to impress. I have seen so many people walk into my office in tank tops and shorts and like t-shirts, and I really look for somebody who has a professional appearance. I don't know what changed. I continue to show up to work, ready to go. So if you can't even put your best self forward for an interview, I don't really know what I'm getting from you going forward.
I think we got too comfortable working from home, and we just haven't got back to dressing back up yet. So, but there is an image in the hospitality industry, and it has changed over the years that I've been in it. But there is still this image, because it goes back to what I preach. We are the product, and so our image is part of that.
Going off of that image
Yes.
that you said, having your voicemail set up when you are applying to jobs and the recruiter is calling you, is really hard. It's really hard. You have no idea how many people I've had to tell, hey, so your voicemail's not set up. So if you apply to jobs and you're expecting people to call you, maybe set that up. Or having a more professional voicemail, even if it's just, hey, it's Ketsy, I can't answer right now, leave a short message. That's fine. But the whole play of, hey, oh yeah, you catch me at a bad time, I can't answer. I was like, it's not professional. We're not really little kids anymore. And, having a voicemail set up is just important for when you're applying to jobs. It's something silly, but it's still important.
Thank you, Ketsy. That is something we forget about, but it's really important. So I'm not surprised that this group of students has become active in the chat room with questions, and I would have been surprised if they hadn't. And we have two that deal with ageism and dealing with an older individual, and how do you overcome that challenge and prove that you were chosen for your position for a reason? So you're a younger individual, and we're seeing it more because of the staffing shortages, that younger and younger individuals are getting promoted quicker and quicker into lead positions. And so how do you help that baby boomer respect you as a supervisor?
I can chime in on this. Every other director on my level is double my age. And what someone had recommended to me is to remember that it's not just you that needs to prove to them. They also need to be accepting of this change in ages for managers. We're getting a lot of people that are coming fresh out of college, looking to be a restaurant manager or a supervisor, and they're 21 years old. And 5 years ago, we probably would not have considered that because we were looking for 5 years experience, or we're not looking for that experience anymore. Your employer and your coworkers, they need to be accepting of the new ages. And I think it's also important to ask them for help. They're looking at you like you don't know what you're doing, and like you've never been experienced enough to be in these roles. So look to them for mentoring, ask them questions. They'll appreciate you and respect you a lot more if you do that. I've reached out to several other managers here. Hey, I've never gone through this before. Can you please offer some advice? Or just communicate very clearly with them and show them that you can handle the job with a little bit of guidance.
So communication is the key. Yeah, okay, really good. We have another question in the chat room that is asking for advice on if I'm considering going on for my bachelor's degree. Is there any suggestions on finding what school might be the best fit? And then with that, they're also asking, do you think it's better to dive directly into a job and then go to school? Is there a pattern, or is there a route that you would suggest to these students? And Anna, I know you have your hands full, but yes, I'm going to go to you because you've already talked about this, and I think you have, you know, some great stories to tell.
I think she's smiling, so she wants me to talk. Yeah, I would say it is tough to decide because it took me like, I don't know, like 6 years to graduate with my bachelor's, maybe it feels like longer, because I went to college originally for art, which is completely not hospitality, dropped out, moved back home, was working as a photographer, then decided I didn't want to do that. And I always worked in restaurants, so I was like, oh, I'll go for hospitality. Went to Northampton because I wanted to start there to make sure I liked it, get my associate, so I at least had that under my belt and then could transfer if I wanted to. Later, took another year off in between, and I was just working as a bartender actually at Brewworks in Bethlehem. And well, I was still doing photography actually as well for the Iron Pigs. But I was working like 3 jobs. And so I do think if the question is like, should you work and get experience? I mean, I would say yes, but I also had to work while in school. So, I mean, I know some people have to work while in school and some don't, but I do think it's always important to, even if it's a part-time job, and learning that balance, that's what's going to make you strong in the hospitality industry, is having to multitask and having to prioritize certain things. You know, having a job and school and a family is a lot, but people do it. And yeah, it took me longer, but and then finding a school that fits for you. I just knew I wanted to go to Temple because I wanted to be in Philadelphia. I just knew I liked the city. I wanted to be here. I don't want to leave. This is where I have my family, and we're probably going to stay in the city for a while. And for me, it was that Northampton had the program to be able to transfer to Temple. That helped me a lot, so that you're not losing out on any credits. It's really important that you check when you transfer that you don't lose out on any of the credits, that they all transfer, that you're not wasting your time and your money to go to college and spend all this money on school and then, you know, have to be there for extra semesters because, you know, something didn't line up correctly. So that is something that's really important, and I would be happy to help anyone looking to like transfer to schools if you have any questions about that process.
And Anna, I think another thing, and it's like you're here and Kayla Lacey's on this call, and I've always seen the students that have ended up in Philadelphia, that one of the things that's also important is when you need to get back to the Lehigh Valley, you can in a pretty short period of time. And so if there's that, there's an emergency and I've got to get back, or for whatever reason, you can't. So I think there's also that aspect of, do you want to be somewhat in the area, or are you ready to get out of Dodge and go someplace else? Where I think with MJ was ready to, and she knew she wanted to go to Orlando.
Yeah. I do think traveling can help you get promoted quicker too, like being able to be willing to move across the country and things like that. But I knew that I wanted to have a family and stay here. So it can be challenging, but it's also like if it's part of your goal and you know that's what you want, then just stick with it. And your goals can change, but like having that in my mind, like, you know I want to be here, and you're right. It's being close to home. I have family in the Lehigh Valley, and it's nice to stay close. And I don't know that I would be doing this right now if I wasn't close and still keeping in touch with people.
Okay, so we're going to go to kind of the wrap-up question. And what advice can anyone on the panel give to the high school students that are in attendance here, to the NCC students that are in attendance here, that are interested in getting into the hospitality industry? And another way to look at it is, it's the hospitality industry, it's been rough for the last 18 months. So why hospitality?
I think in hospitality, you get this experience that you can't really get anywhere else. The stories you're going to hear, you're going to meet so many people, have amazing networking opportunities. I mean, I know people in other countries that have stayed at the hotel. And I think just that relationship that you get to build. If I was sitting, I'm an accountant now, but if I was sitting in an accountant office at a tax place, I wouldn't be able to meet half the people I get to meet here. And I think if I would offer any advice for people getting into the hospitality industry is to find your niche and become a pro at that. If restaurants is not your thing, but hotels and operations is, put your focus to operations and just master that skill set. Don't try to go all over the place if you're not going to be confident in yourself to succeed in every area.
I'd love to go off of that if I can. About confidence, it is tough. Hospitality is tough, and you have to be confident in what you're doing. And I'll tell you what, fake it till we make it is like really true. I mean, you obviously have to be educated and use the skills that you learn in school, but there are going to be things you don't know what you're doing, and you have to figure it out. And they're looking at you to make that decision, but it's so rewarding. I mean, my clients were the best part about my job, and that's really like what it's about. At the end of the day, you have to be a people person. You have to like helping people. And if you don't, then it's not for you.
Yeah, you've got to like people. Mike, what would you say would be advice to students that are studying hospitality? Why should they study hospitality?
So, I mean, I think if you're looking overall big picture, even if you start out in hospitality, I think a lot of things we do in this industry are they're so transferable to any other career. So maybe, you get into hospitality and you kind of change your goals, which, tends to happen, especially when you're younger. But say you want to move on to something different, and, those skills that you learn in this industry, as far as just being excellent with customers, and just, at least I've noticed it over my years in this industry. Maybe when I started, I wasn't so much a people person. Now I can just be, in an elevator with somebody and, have a full-blown conversation. So, I mean, it's really one of those things. I think the overall broad spectrum of what you want to do with your life and your career, I think hospitality is a great way to start, and I would recommend it to anybody that wants to get into the industry. And then also just to say, the experiences that you get, I mean, I've only been in this industry for probably about 10 years, but especially at the Renaissance, depending on what hotel you end up, I mean, at one point in time, we had Elton John staying with us, and I had to run out and get him a hot sauce. You can't really make that up. So, I used to chat, or at one point, Samuel Jackson was staying at our hotel, and, meeting him, he's like one of my favorite movie stars. So that was like a surreal experience for me. So just those experiences you're going to gather, and just overall, the people skills that you get are just, I'd highly recommend.
Anyone else? Why hospitality? Why go into this industry in 2022?
David, I can speak quick. One of the things that I think is super important is the amount of unlimited opportunities. As I mentioned, I've had the chance to relocate on this grade 4 times in the last 5 years. So quite a bit more than most people. But it's one of those careers you can take with you. So if something in your family life changes and you do need to move somewhere, the hospitality industry is something that's everywhere. So, whether you stay with the same company or you get involved with a new company, it's not something that's difficult to find.
There's always careers in hospitality. And I think it also comes down to, you get into hospitality because you have a passion for it, and you have that desire to want to help and assist and provide that great experience to other people. So that is one of the importance of hospitality. Okay, so Karen is going to put up a little slide presentation. Because I'm just going to take a moment to promote the program at NCC. So thank you for joining our alumni panel. Next slide. And here's the list of the individuals. If you want to take a picture of this so that you have their names, you can always reach out to myself, to Karen, and we can help connect you with anyone that was on the panel. Anna had put in her email address. If anyone else wants to put in their email address to any of the panelists right now, that'll be great. If you take my resort management class in the spring, Kristen will hopefully present again, and so you'll get to hear more about resorts from Kristen. Karen will go to the next slide. So I just want to quickly, for the high school programs that are either here or are going to be watching this being recorded, why would you study hospitality management at NCC? Well, we're proud to announce that as of this year, we are ranked the #1 community college hospitality management program in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania by College Factual. So that is a major accomplishment. And we're ranked the #4 hospitality management program of any institution of higher learning in the Commonwealth. So Temple, Penn State, and Drexel are ranked higher than us, but then comes NCC. We have 8 NCC hospitality management scholarships dedicated exclusively to students in our program. We are an accredited program, and so you get an Associate of Applied Science, and you graduate as a certified hospitality graduate. We have a lot of hands-on learning experiences with industry leaders across the region. We offer a lot of nationally recognized industry certifications obtained through our coursework. We have transfer agreements. We are the first community college in the nation to have a transfer agreement with Penn State. And then we have transfer agreements in existence with Temple, East Stroudsburg, York College, and Keystone College. We do a lot of networking events and job placement services, working with our Center for Career Development, like working on this event today. And we have access to student involvement in our Hospitality Management Club, our Honor Society, Associated Students. And then we are one of the few community colleges in the nation that has dorm rooms. We have 600 beds in our dorms, so you could come and stay with us and live in our dormitories. Next slide, Karen. This is promoting, again, so we work with the Center for Career Development, the Winter Job Shadow Program. The deadline is the 19th of November. The program dates are through January 6th through the 14th. We had two panelists, Historic Hotel Bethlehem and Camelback Resort, that are participating in these job shadows. If you are a student at NCC and you do one of these job shadows, that applies towards your internship, but it also is just a great experience. And Historic Hotel Bethlehem is looking to host students not only from NCC, but students from BAVITS. So if you're interested, our BAVIT students that are here, visit northampton.edu/job shadow to apply. And slide, I believe, or thank you for attending. Thank you to our panelists for being on this presentation today. You did an outstanding job. Very proud of each and every one of you for your accomplishments in life. Wonderful to see you on the presentation and to hear all of the wonderful things that you have accomplished. Thank you to the students in the program that have attended, and hopefully you've learned some very interesting tips and experiences from the individuals and from our high school programs that have joined us today. Thank you very much for joining us. And maybe you will consider getting an associate's degree in hospitality management from Northampton Community College. If there are no other questions, our alumni event is now closed. Thank you very much for attending. Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Good luck, everyone.